Above and Below is back, and this time it is haunted. Not just because it's October, but I think there is no coincidence there that this campaign is running now. Yeah, Above and Below, which is one of the early games from Red Raven and Ryan Lockett, is back. In fact, it's the first of the blank and blank games. There was this and a few others, of course. If you're familiar, we're going to highlight some of the differences that you've got going on here. If you're not familiar, we're going to give you a brief description of what's going on in Above and Below. We've got it set up kind of mid-game, if you will, in front of us. We've got our player space right here, where you're going to be building a tableau of the buildings that you're going to be building, and you're going to be building them
above and below.
Yes.
So above ground, you can do any of these ones that you're just going to see. There are going to be some special ones each game that you can get, which we've already taken in this little
empty
setup.
row here was cards.
And then to get anything of the outposts on the below, you're going to first need to explore and get some caverns, places where you can actually put those buildings, and then they'll give you even better rewards.
Yeah, and Emily mentioned exploring. That's one of the big things that the original Above and Below kind of introduced into the concept of a Euro-y sort of game was some narrative things that you had to overcome. There's a little dice rolling. One of the things that this game does is lets you mitigate that.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Tiny bit more so that it feels a little less risky. Not to mention, one of the big rewards that you get from doing that, you get no matter what.
Yes.
Which is one of the caves on which you have to build those outposts. In the original game, if you failed exploration, you didn't even get that. And
you have to try again.
Yeah, you need those spaces in order to build the outpost. So it kind of, I think that probably to many people felt like a not feel-good moment back in the original game. This one, they fixed that. One other thing that this introduces is a little bit more player interaction because Haunted means that there's ghosts, of course. Or as I like to say, zombie penguins. I looked at this the wrong way, and it kind of looks like a little zombie penguin, but it's a ghost. And when you build houses, they're going to potentially get ghosts when you hire people. The people that you recruit up here, there's some over here that are cheap, that are less expensive. They're not going the hard route. You don't have to pay them as much, but they come with a ghost. So when you hire one of these 3 spaces, you're going to take a ghost and put it on any one of your buildings. Ghosts in your village don't help your reputation at all. The reputation track is going to get negatively impacted by the number of ghosts you have at the end of each round.
Yes.
But there is a way to get rid of the ghosts.
Yes, so you can actually banish the ghosts. So now with someone with a feather, I can use them as a worker and actually banish all of the ghosts in my player area. Right now, that's no one for me, but let's assume we had one.
She just did it in our game.
I just did it. So even if I just have one, I'm going to banish everybody. The last one I have, I'm going to get to put on an opponent's place somewhere else. And depending on what I put it on, if it's something that has an above ground or something that has a bed, I'm going to get the magical brew and 3 more coins.
Yeah.
Or if it's anything else, I'm going to get a brew and a boat, which is also new.
Yeah, there's a few different bonuses you can get depending on the kind of building that you place it on. It has to be a building, so if I'm filled with ghosts, and Emily did that again, she couldn't place another ghost in my area, and she wouldn't get the thing. There are also some interesting things you can do to mitigate this. I was rocking a strategy here that I didn't care about ghosts because I had this that was going to give me points for ghosts at the end of the game. And as long as these points off of this card were going to exceed the -7 I was going to get in reputation, I was fine with that. While Emily had one early on where whenever she put a ghost on one of her buildings, she got a coin.
Yes. So I was like, I'll take all the ghosts.
Yeah,
and then
she
I'll
was
give them back
taking
to you,
ghosts
David.
and then she would banish them and get rid of all of them. But it is a little extra player interaction that I think a lot of people found was a little lacking in the original game. There wasn't too much player interaction really as well, much at all, except for like jumping on things and building buildings out from under someone else who is about to build
I will say too, also you played it well where this also affects the way that you're building things out. So one of the main actions you can take is you can take a build action to get one of these things, pay the cost for it, and put it in your tableau. Because you get different bonuses based on where you're banishing something to, you might take something that's a better bonus for you that might not give them a bonus if they banish. So right now I'm like, David very well might banish all of his ghosts because he has quite a few of them and I have plenty of empty spots. So do I want to take something with a bed where he could get an extra different kind of bonus from it? Or do I want to take something that's just good for me?
Yeah. So some of the main differences before we move on to just kind of overview of how it's similar and what Above and Below is doing. We have that mitigation. There's also mitigation involved with these little boats. These were not in the original game. You get these boats in a number of ways. If you build a building that has a boat shown, you simply take a boat. There are some adventures that you'll go on through the exploration that might result in giving a boat. These boats are going to go on your player board, and you can exhaust those during your round, and they will automatically come back at the end of the round. When you exhaust them, you can get a coin, or you can exhaust them when you go on an exploration to make one of the dies that you roll an automatic 6, which helps quite a bit. And that's one of the actions that we want to talk about a little bit more if you've never played Above and Below, and that's that exploration action. Of the different actions you're going to take to build, to hire, to all the things, the exploration is probably the most interesting and unique for Above and Below, because you're going to take one of these exploration cards, for instance, this one or this one. This one is going to be, it has a little range here at the top left corner that tells you the success level that you'll need to be. The little ones are 2 to 6. So early on, you don't have a lot of people to commit to these explorations, so you might want to take one of these. Later, when you have more people to commit to them, you can take these higher ones. But either way, you take it, then you roll a die to see which entry or adventure you're going to read out of the logbook. And the other player or another player at the table reads that. It usually results in some sort of option. Do you want to do this at this level of success?
Yeah.
Or this at this level? Or sometimes it might just say, or do you want to pay some coins? Or do you want to do this? So you have some options. You pick one of those. Then you're going to roll dice for each of the characters that you committed to that exploration. And you can see each of the characters, not only do they have actions like some of them will help you build, some of them will help you recruit, but they all have die on them that have little lanterns attached to them. So you're going to roll a die for each of those characters one at a time.
Yes.
And see if you succeed in getting some of those lanterns. And those lanterns are effectively the success rate that you need to overcome some of these challenges. So, and these challenges can be like a wide range of things. And sometimes you might even not get what you expected. You might choose the option, you're like, well, look, surely that would be better.
Yeah.
But the other option might not have been too bad
Depending on what you need, too, because it could be giving you any kind of the resources or reputation or taking away reputation. And now it can even be giving you ghosts or taking away ghosts.
Yeah, a lot of them will give you ghosts.
Yes.
Like in this one, a lot of them will give you ghosts. And like I said, Emily wanted ghosts for a while, and then she could just banish them. So sometimes that would work out. I also wanted ghosts, but I was at a point where I didn't have any more room for ghosts. And if you don't, you just don't take any more ghosts. Yeah. That's about it. But Emily touched on the fact there's these resources. That's another big part of Above and Below, and it is in this game as well. As you get resources, and you get those in many different ways. In the exploration, you might build structures or buildings that have resources on them that you can then labor to harvest off of them. When you collect resources, you're going to keep them on your player board. You can also dedicate some down to this advancement track at the bottom of your player board that's going to, if the sooner you do it, it's going to increase your income each round, which is very compelling. But as you commit resources down here, it's also going to assign point values to that type of resource at the end of the game.
So for mine, I had the rice, the shell, the tea leaves, and then the red fruit, I believe.
Spiky red fruit. I can't remember exactly what it's
called.
But
I got another red fruit. So later in the game, then when we actually do scoring, both of these are going to be worth 3 points for me. So I want to keep getting more of these ones because they're going to be worth more. If I get more rice, it'll be worth 1 point, but not quite as good.
Right, and it's an interesting balance there because there is a bit of a rarity to the resources. So if you get a rice or a crab, which are sort of the least or the most common, and you put that down here really early in the game because I want to get that income up.
Yeah.
But then you might come across a lot more of that, and you're only going to get a point for it. Getting down here to the end could be tricky because even in our game here that we're halfway through, or a little over halfway through, I'd only come across 2 resources. You'd had 4?
I'd have 4. And then my 5th one was
you were going to get that squid.
It really depends, too. Like you said, when you explore, there's a lot of different things that could happen that it could be. So you never really know what you're going to get.
They do give some hints. Like some of the options might say, do you want to choose to get food from them or a boat? Or like, so you have a sense for like, okay, I'll probably get some sort of resource, but you don't, it might be a resource you already have.
Yes, exactly.
If it's a boat, it's probably going to be a boat. And sometimes it's going to be some coins, but it is an interesting element that kind of adds not only a narrative, but kind of, if you're a Euro fan that likes a little chance in your game, this adds a little bit of that, and I think Haunted does a good job of helping people mitigate it a little bit more than the original game, because I think that's people who didn't like the chance and the risk involved in that exploration, which is a big part of the game, might like this one a little bit more.
Yeah, because once you have more than one boat too, you can be assigning them to different people. So like you can almost deterministically say, yes, I will beat this, or no, I won't. Or you could go for a riskier move for maybe something bigger, and those harder caverns also give you pearls.
Yeah, and
which you
pearls
can
are
use-
like wild resources that you can use at the end of the game for whatever your highest point value resource is. Yeah, but it does a lot of different things, a lot of Euro-y things, but mostly it is a tableau builder. Emily is doing a much better job of building a actual working tableau than I was. Getting some cards here that let her harvest some resources and things like that, which is a big part of the game that I was overlooking. I'm a sucker for going on those explorations and seeing what happens.
I am not. So
No, she's not. But,
and it gave you both a chance to do that, right? Like I was able to do this and like have things firing off each time, and you were able to be like, but I'm just going to explore each time and see what's going on in the world.
yeah, I don't know if both could be a winning strategy, but I was having fun in the process. But that is Above and Below Haunted. If you have any questions anymore about how this is different and even a little bit more, I think we've covered things pretty well. Or if you have any questions just about how Above and Below works, please make them in the comments below. We'll get down there and answer whatever we can. Until next time, though, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.